ever just felt lazy? Like really lazy? Well, what if I told you that feeling wasn't a weakness at all, but maybe a hidden strength? We're about to dive into a fascinating 14th century Korean poem that completely flips the idea of laziness on its head. Okay, so the poem's title is Yongsim. The first character, Young, means lazy, kind of languid. The second one, Sim, means extreme or severe. So, put them together and the title is literally Extreme Laziness. Kind of a bold choice for a classic poem, right? It definitely makes you wonder what's going on. And that boldness, well, that's the whole key. This is not a poem about giving up and watching TV all day. Nope. It's a clever puzzle that asks us a really powerful question. What if choosing to be lazy is actually a deeply profound act of resistance? A way of protecting your own integrity? So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at this idea of extreme laziness. Then we'll see the despair behind it, this ambition in ruins. After that, a surprising glimmer of solace. That leads us to the real meaning, the wisdom of withdrawing. And finally, what this all means for us today, a poet's enduring lesson. All right, let's set the stage. Who wrote this? His name was Yi Cheom, and he was a scholar official living through some really turbulent times, the very end of Korea's Goryeo dynasty in the late 14th century. We're talking about an era of intense political corruption, and you absolutely have to understand that context to get what he's really saying. The poem kicks off, and wow, it's bleak. The first two lines just hit you with this raw sense of failure. It paints a picture of a man whose entire life's work has just crumbled. Here's that first line. Now, for anyone interested in how Korean was written classically, this is where the magic happens. To really feel the weight of this, we have to look at the building blocks, the Junja, the Chinese characters that were used. This is where the poem's real code is hidden. First up, these two characters, Pyeong-sang. This means your entire life, your whole existence. So right away, you know he's not talking about a minor setback or a bad day at the office. This is about the grand sum of his life. So what about his entire life? Well, that's the next word, chiwon. This is his aspiration, his life's ambition. For a guy like Yi Cheom, a scholar official, this was his purpose, to serve the government to create a just society. It was everything. And then you get the gut punch of the line, failure. This isn't just a vague sense of failure. The characters literally paint a picture of slipping, stumbling, and falling flat on your face. It's a physical, painful image of being completely and utterly defeated. So you put all that together, and the first line is just this devastating admission. My lifelong ambition has already slipped and failed. Everything he ever worked for, his entire purpose, gone. You can just feel the despair coming off the page. Okay, so your life's work is in ruins. What do? How do you react? The second line gives us the answer, and this is where that strange title, Extreme Laziness, comes roaring back. It basically translates to, what can be done? My laziness has grown tenfold. He's directly connecting the failure of his ambition to this massive explosion of laziness. It's almost like a defiant shrug, like he's saying, well, the world is broken, so I'm just going to check out. But then, right when you think this whole poem is about despair, it does a complete 180. It pivots hard, moving away from the loud, messy world of politics and failure, and zooms way in on this quiet, deeply personal moment of peace. The third line is a total change of scenery. Just listen to the imagery. We've gone from ambition and failure to afternoon naps and flowers. It's a completely different universe. Waking from an afternoon nap, I see the flower's shadow has moved. Do you see what's so brilliant about that? He's still marking the passage of time, but not by political appointments or career goals. He's marking it by the slow, gentle movement of a flower's shadow. He has literally stepped out of the world that broke his heart. And that brings us to the last line, where he reveals his true source of comfort. He introduces two incredibly powerful symbols of purity, his chiha, his young child, and the sinha, a newly bloomed lotus flower. Briefly, I take my young child's hand to see the newly bloomed lotus. Think about that. In a world full of political mud and corruption, he finds peace in two things that are absolutely pure: the innocence of his child and the lotus, a flower famous for growing up through muddy water and blooming perfectly clean. This is his real refuge. So now we can ask again, what is this laziness really about? It's not about giving up, not at all. It's about a strategic, principled retreat. It's the wisdom of knowing when the game is rigged, and the best move is to simply walk away. You can really think of it in two ways, right? On one hand, you have simple idleness, just apathy, surrendering. But on the other hand, you have what Yi Cheom is doing, a principled withdrawal. That's not surrender. That's a conscious choice to protect your own integrity when the world around you has lost its own. And this wasn't some new idea he just made up. It has deep roots in Confucian philosophy. Confucius himself praised an official for this very thing, saying that when the government is corrupt, when it lacks the way, the most virtuous thing you can do is withdraw. To be lazy about public life is actually an act of moral self-preservation. And for Yi Cheom, trust me, this was not just a theory. He lived it. He was a high-ranking official who saw the corruption firsthand. And he didn't stay quiet. He impeached an incredibly powerful and corrupt official, a move that took immense courage. And what did he get for it? He was exiled for 10 years. He came back, got tangled up in politics again, and was exiled a second time. His laziness wasn't an escape. It was earned through a fierce dedication to his principles. So, what's the big takeaway from this short, powerful poem? It's really a timeless guide for what to do when your highest ideals slam right into a very harsh reality. This poem takes us on such a clear journey. It starts in the wreckage of a public life, with ambition in tatters. But it doesn't stay there. It finds a new, quieter kind of purpose in the simple, pure things that can't be corrupted. The shifting of a shadow, the beauty of a flower, the hand of your own child. It redefines success not as power, but as integrity. And that leaves us with a question that feels just as urgent today as it was 600 years ago. In a world that constantly asks us to compromise, to bend our values for a little more success, how do we protect our own integrity? What does our own principled laziness look like?